videotape cuts and stuff. But I one in the store, one overseeing some of the garage. Then I got one who's there. At the same time, it sees it in each other. It's got motion detector, so then it records it. Oh, yeah, I had enough.
Yeah, the engine.
Goes into the dirt. It's cat. That she would typically be attached to. She had it for a couple of years. It's like a touring tube. She's all about people outside. Wi-Fi. Oh yeah. So the whole weekend while we were watching it, it's got a you got audio on it too. Yeah. I can talk to somebody at the door. We're standing on line. I can't see that cat. She's somewhere else. Sleeping. So most of the time, a lot of times he's laying on the back of the love seat, sleeping and looking out the window. Chad's not gonna make it tonight. Jill's sister comes in. Jill's sister says, "Hi, Jill." She jumps up. Scary problem. It is that time. Please stand for the pledge. Remain standing for the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that our community has been given. We pray for those who are in offices that govern this community and county and those in the state and at the federal level, that make the decisions that are in the best interest of the community and the world that we live in. We are glad that we have the freedom to speak up and vote for those who oppose our set of values, even if they differ from the leaders that we respect. Heavenly Father, please bless the men and women in our city government, state and federal, all elected officials, and those who put themselves in harm's way, like our law enforcement, firefighters, and EMS. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen. James, take a roll call, please.
Dan Vincent. Not here. Bob Leahy.
Here.
Jim Hufford.
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Chad Spence.
Trust you had a chance to review the consent agenda as presented. Any changes or corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Department reports. I'm trying to think of, we had our Board of Works meeting last week. Just a lot of activity on the park. We've got added some LED lights at the tennis courts and at the basketball courts. They're on a day-night switch. So those who want to utilize the facility don't have to use the switch anymore or bust the switch as they have done in the past. So they'll be on all night. And then we also put new lights at the shuffleboard so that the heart of the park, it was lit up all times, and it keeps any suspicious activity out. That's all I got. Jan?
I don't have anything.
Council members, Bob?
I don't have anything.
Jim? Jim?
No.
Monty?
We've got, of course, the obligation of funds from the wastewater plant
They were out last week. We had a couple meetings with Midwestern Engineering over particularly the power demands, and they are continuing to do the design work on that. Other than that, I think that's about all we've got.
Okay. Met with Ryan just a few minutes ago. He won't be here tonight, but Jan, is the list in here?
Yes,
Yeah.
should be blue in you don't have a blue one?
There it is. Well, what I was going to bring up is not on there. The little triangle there by the park, that should be buttoned up. I think the sale should go through. I think hopefully this week. I think everything's been transferred. So, Jason Sargent.
Yes. Jason Sargent, representing JJ Sargent Farms. Thanks for letting me speak. I know you have some land that you farm out over there in the side of town. You go back and forth on whether you're going to sell or develop it. Right now it's still farmed, and it's up to that time to bid again. What I wanted to speak to you about, I want to share with you what I do. I farm some land for across the line there for the other side of town. They have what I do for them, and you can, I just have copies that you can look at. But what I do for them is a grid sampling that is offered. Whereas nowadays with the runoff of fertilizer and everything, you just don't do a blanket application for the whole field. You take grid sampling based on GPS, and you just do what that section of the field needs or doesn't need. So that is something I do offer with the local co-op. Harvest Land does that. And then so there's you guys can pass that down. A couple of fields that I do for the other side of the line. Each dot is a soil sample that they take on a field. And then on the second page of that, there's a chart there that shows the analysis of what each dot is. So red would be deficient in a nutrient, green would be it's good, and so that saves me money, but it's also good for the environment. You're not putting on necessarily more than what is needed just for that crop year. So I wanted to, if you have any questions about that, I can come back and explain, or I can answer them now. But I just wanted to explain that that's what I would like to do, especially with your field being right in the middle of town, right with your water area and everything. I think that would be good for you. And there's more to each one of those dots. I mean, there's a whole big report. I just brought a sample. I don't even keep copies of that. I let the co-op keep that. But there's a lot of detail that goes into each one of those dots that they look at. And of course, that'd be available if anybody would need to look at it. But,
How many acres do you farm?
I farm a little over 600 acres. So I've been coming over, I've been farming for the other Union City for a few years now.
And you know that we're looking at a housing development for that land?
She did mention that. I don't know what timetable that's on, if that's a 1-year thing or if it's the whole thing or
It'd
just
be the whole
section.
thing, and the decision would be made after January.
January.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd possibly have, would have to, I don't know how your contracts read, but be reimbursed if you had to.
Yeah, that's if you award a contract for farming next year and you do end up selling it. I would hope that there'd be provisions in there to protect me on that. If it was something where it's before the crop year, like I say, just be reimbursed for anything I put in. If it was, if it got drug out in the middle of the crop year, something to not just reimburse me for my cost, but what the revenue would expected revenue would be. Yeah. So yeah, I understand that that's a possibility. I mean, I don't know if you're pretty certain on selling it, I don't know if you even want to offer a contract. I don't know.
I mean, like I said, it'd be January, so you'd have, whatever you'd applied during that time.
Right.
If you did anything in the fall after harvest. So we'd be, because we really need to start it out for bid pretty
Yeah.
early.
Next,
So,
yeah. I need
Next
to get
three.
that in the paper.
okay.
But, you know, I don't know if you're pretty certain that you'll sell it.
Well,
Would you even need
we
to?
won't know until January.
You can't do anything until January.
Yeah.
And we may have a little better idea of just exactly
Yeah.
what our time frame would be, because I'm not sure how quick all the movement on all that would, as far as the disruption of the use would be, how immediate it'd be on that.
Well,
We'll have-
if we were gonna move on something, it would, we'd be starting with utility work and whatever
Yeah.
else probably right away.
Right,
So.
yeah.
Is this something that you're thinking you would work in concert with somebody, or you would just sell the whole thing and let?
Well, no, it would be with a developer that'd be working with,
Okay.
so. But we can always put something together to, once we put out the bid and we can just, word the contract.
We're gonna have to have that no matter who
Yeah.
we're working with. It's not-
Yeah.
it's-
So yeah, if those details are in your bid request,
Yeah.
what timetable that looks like or whatever. But I just wanted the opportunity to explain that. If it's, houses are the most profitable crop, so if you're gonna plant houses there, then maybe that doesn't interest you. So,
Well, but I think, we don't, that's still something, it's still valuable information. Quite frankly, that was the way that land's been used in the past. And it would be, I think it's a prudent thing to do, just because it was used to, we spread sludge on it for many years, and so probably a good.
Well, I know it started with Union City's wastewater. They had in their contract, they wanted this many pounds of fertilizer put in there. And I had to explain to them, like, that's not really based on anything. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that worked for whatever year that contract was originally written, but
Yeah.
that doesn't take into account. And those maps show that there's a lot of parts on the field that doesn't need anything, and to have just a blanket amount put on,
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense anymore. So they switched to that, and so I wanted to speak to you about that.
Okay.
Do you have a timetable yet on when you were put that bid out?
We'll put it out in the next 30 days.
Next 30 days?
Yeah, I can let you know
Okay,
when I put it out, so you know.
all right, thank you.
Whereabouts you live?
On the other side of Dart County,
Oh, okay.
so it's a little bit of a drive, but there's enough acreage over here. I got plenty to do over here.
Okay.
And I like the ethanol plant and doing business with them, so. All right, that's all I have.
All right, thank you so
All
much.
right, thank you.
very much. Pascal Howard?
Gentlemen, biggies, you know why I'm here. This is ordinance number 2017-03 is amended. I decided to look around town and see if I could find out where the sewer water is coming from. I found a few homes where the downspouts went into the ground, but I went to the swimming pool. You talk about we're fishing for minnows over here, that's a whale. We get 34 inches of rain a year, 51 inches of snow, and that all goes down the sewer system. Plus the overflow from the pool. I was out there and the west side downspout is legal. The other one's running on the concrete around the pool where there's about 6 deck drains. And I think that probably goes into the sewer system too. Does anyone know?
I don't know if the deck drains do. The pool drain itself does, but I don't know about the deck drains. I can't say.
I have a feeling they all go down the same way.
But the pool's got.
That's a hell of a lot of water.
State law.
The pool itself has to by state law. We don't have any choice on that
Well,
because it's chemically treated water and
I'm
it's
just
required.
stating the fact.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of water is going. I don't want the kids throwing rocks at me because I love to swim.
I went on, there was a website that, and it just basically took the square footage of a roof and of a basic house in Union City and calculated out the amount of gallons of a half-inch rain that will go into our, goes into our.
There's a lot of water.
A lot of water. And so, going back to the 80s, we had a project where we identified and tried to work with the homeowners, whatever else, to voluntarily do this, to eliminate them from our system. And nobody did it. Very few did.
Well, some did it and then put them back. Too. We've had a constant battle where we've forced people to take their downspout drains out of the sewer drains, and then 6 months or a year later, they're back in it.
And a lot of the homes, the age that they were built in, they have perimeter drains, floor drains in their basement, whatever else. And so
They're connected.
there was a house on Division Street. I got a phone call, and the homeowners were madder than hell. They had crap in their basement, and said, "Well, give us a couple days. We'll get down there and we'll do a video of your sewer line or their lateral." And during our inspection of the lateral, we identified that their neighbor was tied to their lateral, and on what was also blocking their system was a root ball that would now water would pass through, but everything else coming out of the two households wasn't passing through. And so when we had a huge rain and their roof drains were going into their perimeter drain of their house, which was also tied to their floor drain of their basement, that's where they're getting their crap. And so that's why we're pushing along the lines. We're eliminating, one house at a time of trying to correct this problem that we tried to correct in the 80s.
Does anyone know how many systems they've completed under this?
Yeah, it was just on the back of our bill. I want to say
200 it said on the back of the
Yeah.
bill.
Can I see the results sometime?
sure. Yeah, we do a report on each house.
Yeah, see if it's working or not.
Well,
And one more thing, how expensive is it? You had it done, didn't you?
What's
Did you
that?
have the system put in?
I had my lateral replaced a number of
Your what?
years. I had my sewer lateral replaced a number of years ago, yeah.
You put in the drain?
Yeah,
Yeah. How expensive is it?
I think it was about 6 years ago. For mine, it was about 800 and some.
Oh, you were
dollars.
way ahead of the system.
Well, it's because it was backed up. I had to do it. No choice, huh?
You were forced to.
I took out a big tree and mine went out in 90 and 90'd again and then went to the street, so. Yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I'm gonna fight it. And if we have to go to court, we will. And according to this, if I don't do something within 90 days, court action will be taken, so it's better you take me than I take you. That's all I have.
Well, let me ask you a question. If your roof was leaking and it was coming into your house, would you fix your roof?
Oh, certainly.
So your lateral, which is out of sight, out of mind, and say it's clay tile, and now ground movement, whatever else, now it's leaking into a sewer system, would you think that we would, since it's yours, and then probably 90 to 80%, Well, probably 90% of all the homes in Union City all have clay tile leaking into our system, and we're being required by IDEM to clean up our act. Would you not think that we would ask the people that's tied to our system to help us out as well?
80 or 90% of the homes have the problem,
Have clay tile. I'm just saying that they have clay tile.
but if I'm accused or suspected that I have a leak, I've got to spend hundreds of dollars to prove that I don't have.
Have they done the camera inspection on the?
Do what?
Have they done the camera inspection on your lateral yet?
No, they haven't.
Yeah, that doesn't cost you anything.
Well, hell no, I got to dig a 6-foot hole to first.
All you gotta get clean out in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got to clean out in the basement. But that means I got to go down 6 foot at least. I heard of one the other day, they were 9 feet underground.
Yeah, some of them are, yeah. Some are probably
And
deeper than that.
I can't get a backhoe into my place, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna dig a 6-foot hole.
You're a better man than I am.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Haskell.
Thank you.
Get the hydrant back.
Yeah.
Especially if we can extend like the new one, the new system, we're gonna have to extend.
Well, under old business here, no one from the chamber. We'll talk about Ryan Prinky. Waiting to hear back from tourism to see how much they would assist us on painting the Arts Depot, so we'll keep that going.
Okay.
Ordinance adopting the supplement to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Union City. It's a second reading. It's ordinance number 2018-09. Let's see. It's an ordinance enacting and adopting a supplement to the code enforcement of the City of Union City. This is the American Legal Publishing out of Cincinnati, where basically, Jan, what's the correct terminology that what they do is
Codification.
codification, yes. So without reading the whereases and there now therefore, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the ordinance 2018-09, adopting the supplements to this Code of Ordinance for the City of Union City on the second reading by title only.
We have a first, we have a second.
Second.
Jamie, take roll call vote.
Bob Leahy?
Yes.
Jim Hufford?
Yes.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
Okay. Under new business, we have 2018-11. It's ordinance to amend the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance. And this is the one you just showed.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to read this. Some of the things that we get involved with. But a situation arose, and that's why certain things were passed on for us to look at. The Area Planning Commission of Randolph County has been recommended that the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance of Randolph County be amended, whereas the Area Planning Commission of Randolph County held pursuant to notice a public hearing on July 17th on the proposal to amend the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance, and has, by vote, made a favorable recommendation to amend the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance in a manner consistent with the proposed amendment of 2018-3-A, which is attached here too as Exhibit A. Now therefore be ordained that by the Common Council of the City of Union City that the text of the Unified Zoning Ordinance of Randolph County be amended in a manner that's proposed amendment of 2018-3-A, which is specifically spelled out as an Exhibit A, which is attached here to and incorporated herein by reference and made part of this ordinance. Now all of that being said, there is, 17 pages telling us how to put signs up.
What we can do with it.
Well, we can do it.
You know, your sign's illegal according to your big sign, you move the sign,
Yeah.
it's illegal according to...
Yeah, that's what I said. I was at the area planning when this was adopted, and there were several of us that really stood up against it, really didn't want to do it, until the commissioners all came in and said, look, we're being sued, this is what the ACLU attorney said we have to do, so, you know, and otherwise we're going to be involved in a lawsuit over this. I really felt like they should have just went ahead with the lawsuit. Fought the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that freedom, okay. First Amendment regarding the place over in Winchester.
Yeah.
That's,
Well, and it's just like any business that wants to advertise for any reason, if they have their business name on it, even on a bulletin board out on the highway saying, we need help at our place, we're hiring, is illegal. Now, you know, or if Tim wants to advertise and he wants to put a sign down on the corner, he's not allowed to do that.
Well, I'll tell you the one that I found in it that got me, and that is, okay, there's provision in there for a signage on a truck or on a vehicle.
but it can't sit in the driveway.
So-
The purpose of it is
So,
for advertising.
so the interesting thing,
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
but
Crazy.
now the interesting thing is that, okay, so my company vehicle can sit
On your property,
on the property,
Yeah,
but it says after hours, basically, not during business. It doesn't say, it doesn't specifically say, I didn't print it. My printer died on me. But the impression that it leaves is that you can't leave it sitting conspicuously during business hours. You can off business hours, but not during your business hours, which of course for an independent contractor, what's off, if you're a heating and air conditioning contractor on 24/7 call, when is that time? But for me, for example, if I have my company truck at Montana Lumber Company sitting on the property, just happens to be parked out in the lot, and it has the company name on it, according to that ordinance, it would be in violation
Well, even
during
our-
business hours. Now, off business hours, it would be legal.
even the American flag out there in the park is illegal. According to this ordinance, because it's too
It's
big.
illuminated or something?
No, because it's too big. It can't be over such and
Yeah.
such size.
That's ridiculous.
So I fully understand their reasoning for doing this, but I think I'm not sure why this ordinance has to be so scaled so tightly
Even murals.
that it
If you're gonna
eliminates.
have a mural painted on the side of the building, you know, as long as you can do that, as long as there's no advertising involved in it. But
Yeah.
if you wanted to put it on the side of your building to advertise your lumber company, you're not allowed to do
I
that.
guess no more mail pouch barns.
One of I read in here,
Yes,
it really
exactly.
bothered me the most. Now, if the city's out working and they want to put up signs because they are a municipality, and they have put up signs that they're men working, that's okay. But if
Yeah.
it's somebody else, a private contractor, according to this, he has to come up and get a permit from the area planning commission to put his signs up for cutting down a tree or whatever he's doing.
In light of all the comments that you made, why would anyone vote for this?
Well, it's
$1 million lawsuits.
Not coming out of your pocket?
No, but it's coming out of the county's pocket, so it is coming out of our pockets.
Well, then maybe they ought to rev back the ordinance.
I said,
So it makes sense.
like I said, I think they ought to fund it. But,
Vote it down.
Where's the lawsuit coming from? Is it down
from the,
ACLU.
them and, originally it was filed by a person in Winchester, and then they took over the case.
Can I ask a question on that? If I'm hearing what Jim says, that this is a lawsuit, the idea being that you're going to punish the entire county to settle one lawsuit with one individual.
If you consider it a punishment, I guess.
Well,
is that-
when you start
yeah.
saying that the American
Yeah.
flag in the park is
Yeah.
illegal,
Right.
and I have personally bought a lot
Yeah,
of
it's covered in here, they talk about flags.
Get torn. That ordinance obviously is way out of line and needs to be tempered.
Now,
Needs to be
it
changed.
exempts, like out at the park, we have our community Christmas, it exempts anything
Anything
like
in
that
there.
for holiday decorations is exempt. But the cards that they have out there, if it's got an advertisement on it for a business, or a church or something like it,
A
it's
high
illegal.
percentage of
Most of them
them
do.
So, you all are not gonna vote in favor of this, I take it.
What's the lawsuit?
The only way I voted for it over at, there was that we could actually amend the thing afterwards in a few months to make it more compliance with our county instead of with, because I cannot see this being passed, say, like down in Indianapolis.
I can see anything being passed.
Well, but this is what they say, this is the one that's supposed to be going out through the whole
I mean,
state.
You guys represent citizens
Right.
of Union City, and this ordinance is going to mess with a lot of people here.
Gonna mess with our people in the county, yeah.
My wife, for instance, with her signs, almost everybody that I know is going to be in violation of this in one way or another.
Well, I'd like to see them have a public hearing on this because
I'm sorry, I feel strongly that you need to send a message to the planning commission that you're not willing to.
well, the county commissioners, not really the planning commission, it's the county commissioners.
Well, the county commission, whoever is behind this needs to be
Yeah, them and the county council.
I question why it takes such a draconian and comprehensive ordinance to solve this problem.
Yeah.
You know.
With one person.
Maybe there
Yeah,
is.
over one person, but that's what it usually always starts out.
And does it actually solve the problem?
Well,
Does the lady have to take her sign down or not?
No, she's still allowed.
Still allowed.
Yeah,
yeah.
well,
And I think the county was losing the First Amendment argument because there wasn't a sign policy in place that was being
well, the reason, that
enforced.
what I understood, I have never seen the sign, so I don't know anything about it. But from what I understand is that since they had to walk onto the property to actually read the sign, that was their violation. Because it was so small that they couldn't read it, what it was actually saying. So this was the violation.
I don't think it's that
Okay,
small. I live very near it, and it's not that small.
It's not that small?
I read it by
Okay.
driving by.
But that's what I understood, the way they was talking over there. I had never seen the sign, so I really don't know anything about the thing, you know?
So I challenge you to vote against this.
Wait a minute, we've, any other discussions for or against this?
Yeah.
There's no other, I would entertain a motion. If there is no motion, that it will die. Going once, twice. Randolph County.
I think we're,
Yep.
Chester passed it.
Okay. Bids
Be trading
for 224 South Walnut Street demo. You got that money?
Yes, I do. I have two bids for demolition of 224 South Walnut Street property. It's seriously bad shape. It's South Walnut. It's got open doors and windows.
Oh, yeah.
And been used
Yeah.
for criminal activity.
Is that the one on the south side of the alley?
Yeah.
South of the alley?
The stairway.
West Falls and
Right.
Skywers. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So, this is from Logan Ray Excavating. For a bid of $11,500. And another bid from Belial Excavating of Lynn for $18,000. And a bid request was sent to Burton Excavating and to Landon's, and no bid was received, so.
Any questions or comments, discussion?
Who's the first bid from?
Logan Ryan.
Logan Ray.
And before anybody makes a motion, I am glad that the one from Lynn is higher because they did such a lousy job on Howard Street. So, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, we accept the bid from Logan Ray Excavating for $11,500 for the demolition of 224 South Walnut Street.
We have a first and a second.
I'll second.
Jamie, take roll call vote.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jim Hufford,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Next item is any remote property on West Chestnut Street, and actually it's kind of a nice problem to have. Clean that property up. Well, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, Henry Moat has, of course, the property down there on Chestnut Street that John Short used to be in. It was, they're just the other side of Rouse Repair. And he's wanting to expand his business there.
Build another building back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has, he's also purchased a property behind him that was such a terrible eyesore and whatever, and of course he since tore that down, cleaned that up. So he actually owns the whole length of that area down through there. On the little map you got there, it shows the property in question. And strangely, we thought it'd be a question of an alley vacation, but we come to find out that that's actually a piece of property that has a deed. So just that section right there. And to expand his building, he would need that control of that property. He doesn't close it off, but he would be too close to it under normal circumstances if it remained somebody else's property.
How is that zoned down there? Residential? Or?
No, it's commercial.
Commercial, okay.
And so we've sent letters to the adjoining property owner also, which was Keith Rouse. So he has no interest in the property. So I guess basically what I'm looking for from you guys is if the thought of selling that property is, if you're okay with that, then I'll have to get with Ryan and we'll have to go through the motions on the statute on that. It doesn't look like we'll have to have it appraised because it's appraised now. Tax appraisal is less than $6,000. So
Is he building over onto the property itself, wants to?
no, he would just be too close to it otherwise.
Yeah, he could get a variance more than likely, being in a commercial area.
Well, this way, I mean, it just cleans it up. I mean, I don't know why we would own that.
Yeah, I mean,
it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I own it as opposed to it being an alley. So this is alley. Is this alley back here?
No, that's just like it on the other side of that.
I know this is alley, but this is a parcel. Yeah, this is a
That's
parcel.
another parcel, yeah,
Okay.
which I think he'd be interested in too.
Because he owns this, this whole parcel. My feeling is that I think it's really not a good place for open traffic through anyway.
No. Yeah.
And
Well, it used to be Tea Garden driveway. That's what it was.
Christmas tree or?
Yeah.
I think
No longer there.
I think the limiting the access
about
to
that.
the
Yeah.
Christmas trees.
the limiting access to Chestnut Street would probably be a benefit as opposed to a
Yeah.
detriment. So I have no issue with doing something.
Make that a form of motion.
What are we proposing for sale or?
Yeah, but we've got some hoops to jump through before we can do that. But I just didn't want to get Ryan involved in the whole process.
I'll make the motion
and then say, no, we don't want to sell that. So.
I make a motion we move forward with proposed disposal of this parcel.
We have
Parcel number.
a motion. We have first and a second.
I'll second it.
Jamie, take roll call vote.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jim Hufford,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Next time on the agenda is the quote from Payment Solutions for street repair. Monty, you want to address this?
Yes, Brad and I went out and did a street survey here a couple of months ago, and then he had Pavement Solutions in some time ago that did pricing on some crack sealing and micro sealing, which is a little different process than we've used before. a little heavier coating on it. That's what the state uses a lot of times. So these are the streets that we pared down to fit within the budget of what we've got. Jan worked with us on that, as we've got some additional MVH funds this year that we didn't know how much the state was going to give us until they actually sent it to us. So this puts us within our budget there and leaves us a little more room for any other events would happen to come along in street repair.
Well, I want to clarify that this wasn't totally included in the budget. We have to do an additional appropriation. But he is right, and we do have additional funds this year that we didn't know how much we were going to get, as he said. So the money's there, but we will have to do an additional appropriation, which that'll be coming up.
When we do that?
Well, no, I'll probably do it in
right away.
August, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Not entertain a motion?
I'm going to move that we accept the street repair proposal as presented.
We have a first or a second?
I'll second. Go ahead.
We second.
Wow, we do it.
They did down here, Jan. Jan, would you take a roll call vote?
Bob Leahy?
Yes.
Jim Huffer?
Yeah.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
In your packets, and this is something that has been kicked around, mausoleum, looking at that, we figured that we probably got another 30 plus years out of the cemetery before we run out of room. And so looking at a possibility of looking at a mausoleum that would be constructed that would be the total amount, let's say it was 36, but then there's also an option to get on the sides to put cremation on the ends. This is just something we're looking at. Just want to kind of looking at the feasibility. The proposal that they had submitted is $151,814. Comparing it to normal burials, you have the cost for the crypt, the opening and closing of the graves, headstone, and also the footer for the headstone. So it comes out to where it is more. It all depends how you price them out. The people over in Muncie said at eye level it's priced more. You have higher pricing when you went a little higher.
You get a better view up there.
Get a better view. Well, you're
closer to heaven.
Closer to heaven, yes. You also could be warmer if you're in the middle too.
Yeah.
But then I've also had people say that I'm just talking about this because Monty and we've been kicking this around for a number of years, and somebody said, I don't want to be buried in the ground. I don't want those worms getting me and whatever else. So it gives us some option, and it's also entertaining for our local people to have this discussion. So, but anyway, we'll keep seeing, because the one thing Tim asked is where would you put it in the center section there where we were thinking. That's in the floodplain. And it goes back to, if you're buried,
That's not a good place to,
Yeah. So, but we're looking at the different options, but it's just something that we just have on our radar to be looking at.
I can say we had having a little discussion about this previous, and there's some questions. I think it's worthwhile to do some research on this and look where we're at, because if nothing else, even if we don't decide to do something at this time, it may be valuable information for somebody in the future to work with.
Yeah, because if you'd wait 25 years, the cost might be three times as much.
We need to do.
And the other, we'll reach a point where the cemetery will have no income.
Yeah.
If you run out of grave space, then you've got.
They're easier to mow around.
something you might look into is talk to the service officer. And if you'd happen to leave a certain section over for veterans, this type of thing, they would probably put a lot on the bill. Because this is what the Army is pushing for, and the VA is pushing for, is most people being cremated and put into these. So they're putting them in cemeteries.
Yeah. So it's something that's on our radar. We'll keep you apprised of, the guy's going to... This company is out of Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Cold Springs, Minnesota. So he's going to come in next time he's in this area or whatever else to give some more detail. And I think there was, I don't know if this included, but there is some pictures on their website of what they do. And so anyway. Any other questions or comments about that? Not, we'll keep you apprised. Then the other thing that we're looking at, the other item, is a sidewalk replacement program. We've had a 50-50 program going on right now. I've gotten some information from Portland, Sydney, St. Mary's, Ohio, and I think Sydney, and what they did out there. The one that makes the most, or has my interest, is where up in Jay County they will remove the concrete, and there's a spec that has to go in to replace that replace the sidewalk, and then but they have you got a timeline of, I think it's 3 or 5 years to be able to get. Are we going to dance back there, Brian?
No problem.
But to be able to replace it. So there's at least you go through town. There's a lot of sidewalk that it needs to be replaced, and nobody's using the 50-50 program. So the inspection program would start we'd give you a time frame of 3 to 5 years to replace it. But we would go in and pull the concrete out, which would save you the labor of that being done. And then, what do we figure up? Would be 50.
Oh gosh, now we ran all those numbers. I didn't write it down.
But we'll get you the numbers of what it's going to cost per. What's the typical
I
lot?
would say $100 a foot. That
Yeah.
I came up with in concrete, just in the concrete
Yeah, just in concrete.
at this point.
So we'll keep you apprised at what programs makes more sense, and we'll get some drafts, and we'll get some things in your hands so you can, for discussion. And the other item, I was approached by a company out of Indianapolis. They're looking at putting in homes made out of containers, and it's for the VA. It's basically a one-bedroom house that's made out of a container. It's actually fixed. It's a fixed property. It's not mobile, and what I'm going to do is send them over to area planning to make sure it fits within their guidelines, whatever else. But it's I like that it's tied to the VA, and see if there would be any interest for, especially the journey home for them as well. And it's priced. I forget what the pricing was. It's 35,000. So, but we'll keep your price. Is that if that moves forward or not? Any visitors wishing to address the council? Yes, you have 3 minutes. And I'm not going to turn my phone on this time.
This particular meeting, my name's John Desmond, reside at 1267 Zoom Road, Union City, Ohio. This meeting was replete with lots of interesting things. Just a couple of comments. Regarding the presentation by Haskell Howard, when I had some of my laterals being inspected, I've had 4 of them inspected and passed so far. One of the restrictions that you have right now in your inspection is that the nature of the camera is such that it always maintains a vertical orientation. So even though the camera is going this way, the picture for the technician always stays horizontal. Well, that's dandy, except it means you have a bigger head on the thing and it won't traverse tight areas. So I would suggest that the city consider, since you've gone through 200 of the about 1,747 houses in town, consider purchasing a camera on eBay. Don't go crazy. Just consider buying another one in the event that people like Mr. Howard would be able to use the existing cleanout, which he said he had, and do a public service for people that don't have cleanouts, that you could inspect his property and you don't have to have a lawsuit. So that would just be something that you might want to consider. I have priced the cameras. You can get them like for $500. So having an alternative way of doing it would make sense from a government point of view. In terms of the mausoleum, I'm very excited about that. I want to get my spot as soon as possible. I'm trying to think of what I want to hire low, save some money. So what we want to do is put that on telephone poles to avoid the flood concept and get the newest container type of modular of mausoleum where whether you're a veteran or not, we can fit you right in the spot and you'll be all set. Other than that, it was quite enjoyable. Thanks so much for your time.
That's not a bad idea, a container.
John, you never cease to.
How many containers can you buy for $150,000? Yeah, well,
I like that.
just look like a shipping dock.
Got that crane arm going out there.
Stack them up. You should be sitting up there.
Just look like a shipping dock out there.
Yeah, there you go.
I just put one of the alligator on.
You know, I don't know what I'm going to do in 17 months, 5 hours, 10 minutes, and 15 seconds with my time. Anyway, the next council meeting and Board of Works is Monday, August the 13th. We're also, Jan, we'll be having a
Executive session.
executive session.
After, at 7:30.
Yes, it'd be after our council meeting. So our council meeting is going to be at 6, Board of Works at 2, and the executive session will be at 7:30. So shouldn't be all that long. I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So we.
We have a first and a second.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. 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 Any adjourned?
Bob.